the voice of student athletics, the Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Good day, SWAC Nation. I'm Charles McClelland, Commissioner of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Thank you for joining us today for what we think will be an exciting 2021 football season. But before I get started, I would like to thank our sponsors, Cricket Wireless, the title sponsor of our football championship, as well as our basketball championship. I would also like to say thank you to Home Depot, the NFL, Alabama Power, the U.S. Air Force, USAA, Academy Sports and Outdoors, the City of Birmingham, and Nike, all for being proud corporate sponsors of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Before we get into football, I would like to address COVID-19 and our return to play. We have repeatedly been asked the question, will the football season start? And the answer to that simply is yes. We will continue to follow the advisement of our medical advisory committee, the state and local health department, and as well as the medical professionals and trainers within our various athletics program. And I would like to take a step back and talk somewhat about our medical protocols as it relates to COVID-19. We understand right now that we are in the middle of unprecedented numbers as it relates to COVID-19. There are some things that we want to talk about within the Southwestern Athletic Conference that has continued to give us the thought process of moving forward. There were a lot of lessons learned for us not participating in football in the fall and carrying it forward to the spring. There's also been additional lessons learned for the sport of basketball. The one thing that we would like to say is in the sport of basketball, we've had some pauses. Those pauses were anticipated. And as a matter of fact, the pause means that our medical professionals and our trainers are doing an outstanding job. Just because a game is paused does not necessarily mean that a student athlete has contracted COVID-19. In many instances, it's contact tracing and keeping our student athletes as safe as possible based upon the advisement of our medical advisory committee, as well as the information that we're getting from the CDC and the NCAA. To this date, there has been 0 student athletes that have been affected with COVID-19 on the court playing. There has been 0. What we have found is that the infection has come from outside, brought into our bubble. And I use the word bubble very loosely in our control environment. From a standpoint of our teams in the pause now, we saw nationally where there was a spike for Christmas, and there was definitely a spike for New Year's. And we are on the tail end of that spike. When you see our teams, we had considerable stoppages in the first and second week. We anticipated that. We anticipate additional stoppages, but again, this is based upon the health and safety. The one thing that we have seen within the Southwestern Athletic Conference, again, is a total commitment to the health and safety from our medical advisory. We want to create a safe environment. We test our student athletes 3 times a week. We have contact tracing. And as I stated earlier, a lot of our stoppages have been based upon the health and safety, not necessarily the infection, but to ensure that we get them in a safe environment. And we have focused on creating a safe environment for our student athletes. Our infection rate, again, has been less than what you have seen from a national standpoint. Our medical care, when we see a student athlete that has been affected, has been superior from the standpoint of getting medical care, getting the medications that are needed, getting the food that's needed, and also getting the post-care that's needed from the heart specialists and all of the medical providers that's needed. We do not think that our student athletes will get this level of care outside of our control environment. So therefore, we are pretty confident that our student athletes within our controlled environment is in a better and safer environment than if we had them outside. So we're going to continue to move forward with the medical advisement. And as soon as we get information from our medical advisors that it is time to pause or time to stop, we will do so. The last thing that I would say as it relates to basketball, and we will move into the football aspect of this informational session, is that we do have contingency plans for the end of the season for basketball. We have not voted this in yet, but there was unanimous support from the athletic directors and senior women's administrators from our call yesterday that we will be moving from the top 4 teams hosting the bottom 4 teams to bringing everyone here into a controlled environment and having the tournament that last week of our basketball season. So we think that that's going to help with us being able to have that controlled environment. As some of you may know or may not know, the NCAA has said you must test every day prior to going to the NCAA tournament for 7 days. And one of those tests must be a PCR test. So we want to get our teams here. We want to get them bubbleized, isolated, tested, and then we'll start. And then whoever wins the SWAC tournament will be able to transition to the NCAA tournament. Again, we have created an unbalanced ranking policy within the Southwestern Athletic Conference. So this will take into consideration everyone will not have the same amount of games. This takes into consideration that there are going to be some stoppages. There will continue to be stoppages. So if we have to bubble those teams and we have to have some teams that play each other to determine seeding, we will have the ability to do that. So we have a plan. It is too early for us to enact that plan now. As we've said from day one, COVID-19 is going to dictate everything that we do. So we're going to continue to move forward, and we're going to continue to move forward with football. And we are excited about football. We're excited about 2021. As you know, each team will have 6 games on their schedule, 6 conference games. One team has elected to have an additional game outside of the conference games, which is Jackson State University. Each team will have 3 home games and 3 away games. We do anticipate some stoppages within football. And again, we have a contingency plan to do so. The good thing within the Southwestern Athletic Conference, we're not participating in the FCS playoffs. We are participating only in the SWAC championship game, so it gives us greater flexibility to be able to make that adjustment as far as stoppages are concerned. We do anticipate ESPN to cover several of our spring football games. As a matter of fact, we've had other networks to call with a high level of interest in watching and broadcasting SWAC football on their networks. We are committed to ESPN and the Southwestern Athletic Conference. We'll continue to invest resources. So for those games that are not broadcasted on ESPN, we are looking to bring you those games through our digital platform on ESPN Plus or ESPN3. So we do think that we're going to be able to give the nation a full dose of SWAC football. When it comes to attendance for football, we're going to leave that up to the local municipalities and the local institution. Each area has their own rules. The Southwestern Athletic Conference will rely on the institution and the local municipalities to make the decision based upon fan participation. From what we know now, there will be some entities that will not have fans. There will be some that will. That will change, again, based upon local jurisdiction and what's going on with COVID-19. So we do want to let everyone know, again, health and safety is going to be there, but the games are not going to look like they've looked in the past. We will not be responsible for a super spreader event, so those numbers will be monitored by the Southwestern Athletic Conference, but we will allow them to be locally decided on what those levels of capacity would be. We are excited about where we are. We are excited about our coaches. We're excited about our student athletes. And again, the Southwestern Athletic Conference is committed to moving forward. We are hoping that we can get a handle nationally on this coronavirus. The one thing that we've been teaching is stay socially distant, wash your hands, and wear your mask. And we're going to enforce those things at our games. And last, I would like to talk about fall 2021. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but we are excited about welcoming Bethune-Cookman University and Florida A&M University to the Southwestern Athletic Conference family. We've had this question within the Southwestern Athletic Conference office numerous times. We have completed our 10-year schedule for SWAC games. Those schedules have been given to the member institutions. Each member institution will have the autonomy to release their schedule based upon all of the things that they have to deal with on their local campuses. So some are still scheduling games for fall 21, but they now know what their schedule is, so they can schedule out to fall 2030, and that is something that we are excited about. We have realigned our divisions. Alcorn State will move to the Western Division, so there will be 6 teams in the East, 6 teams in the West. In our scheduling philosophy, distance was something that we wanted to make sure that we had as a number one concern. We also wanted 1A concern to be the rivalry games. I am pleased to announce that Alcorn State and Jackson State, along with Mississippi Valley, will be able to continue their rivalries, and those games will be played each and every year. The one thing that you will notice within our schedule, there are going to be some teams that don't play each other each year. So we wanted to have distance, again, as a priority. So when you look at our schedule, we looked at it from a distance standpoint. So distance was 1, matchups was 1A. So there might be some teams that are closer in proximity that doesn't necessarily play as much. But overall, we were able to identify time and distance travel, and it is synonymous across the board. So in some years, some teams will have less distance than others, but when you look at the 10-year cycle, all teams have equal amount of distance across the board. So we are excited about that. The Southwestern Athletic Conference is on the precipice of exploding from a standpoint of the realignment, the addition of Florida A&M University and Bethune-Cookman. We're excited about where we are, and we're excited about the forward progression of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. So I will pause there, and we're going to move into the second phase. I will be more than happy to answer questions from the media. If you give us about 30 seconds, I'm going to transition and be able to put the headphones on, so I will be able to answer and first listen and hear and consequently answer your questions. Thank you. First question is from Mark Berman.
Charles, how are you?
Doing well, Mark. How's everything in Houston?
Pretty good, pretty good. A couple things. First of all, how difficult was it, this decision to move all the basketball games to Birmingham, or given the environment, not a relatively easy decision?
Yeah, not difficult at all, Mark. We want to make sure, again, that the health and safety of our student athletes is number one priority. What we've seen, again, is there has not been a high level of infection rate playing the game. What we've seen is, given where we are right now, what we saw from the games that we've had to cancel from Christmas until now, in every instance except one, it was the student athletes that departed campus, went home, and they brought the virus back. And because of the testing protocols that we have, we were able to catch it. In a lot of instances, they were asymptomatic. So in a lot of instances, we were able to stop individuals from spreading the virus. So because campuses are going to be open, and because of all of the things that can happen outside of what goes on in athletics, we felt that it would be best to pause, bring them here to Birmingham, isolate them, because that will give us the best opportunity to be able to complete the tournament, and also give us the greatest opportunity to send our tournament champion to the NCAA. So the decision was not that difficult at all. We still have some things that we have to do to firm this up, so we have not voted it in, we have not formalized it, but I can tell you we're 99% there.
I also wanted to ask you about your decision now to move to the spring. When you look back on what you did, when you did it, how quickly you did it, how critical was that for the SWAC?
It's extremely critical, and it was 100% the great move, Mark. We were able to learn a lot of lessons based upon the other conferences going through. There were a lot of do's and there was a lot of don'ts. The one thing that we are 100% firm on is eating, your dining room, your training table, how you meet, your team meetings, and how you socially interact with each other is how this virus is being spread. So there are a lot of protocols that we put in place about how you feed your student athletes, how you meet as a team, and all of the social interactions. Our biggest challenge right now with this virus is everything that's realistically outside of what we do within sports. So, from a practice standpoint, from a playing standpoint, from a travel standpoint, things have been pretty good for us. And we've had some isolated incidents. Coronavirus is out there. It's everywhere you go. But again, what we've seen is those things that have been outside of our control environment that has brought the virus into our fold. So those are lessons learned that we did not actually have to go through. So it was 100% the right decision for us to pause and move it to the spring. Next question is from Ryan Hennessy.
Appreciate your time. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
A little bit on that last question, I was going to ask, how much did you guys look at, let's say, the SEC or the Big Ten or the Pac-12, what they did during the fall and kind of picked and chose what they did right? And is that how you're kind of transitioning to the spring? Is that something that you did and that was the advantage of pushing to the spring?
Absolutely, very closely. From a commissioner standpoint, we have what we call CCA, which is a commissioner's organization, and we meet 3 times a week. In addition to that, we're part of a consortium, a football consortium, a basketball consortium with the SEC, and there's some overlay with football with the SEC. So we've been able to talk to Commissioner Sankey almost on a weekly basis about what has transpired within the SEC, and even from a CCA perspective, from all of the FBS leagues, whether it's Autonomy 5 or Group of 5, on lessons learned. I would throw out another name. Keith Gill at the Sun Belt has been extremely instrumental in giving us information about their do's and don'ts. So there's been a high level of opportunity for us to gain knowledge about what they did and how they've been able to maneuver through this process and some of the lessons that they had to learn the hard way. So we do thank them, and we have stolen all that we could steal from those conferences, and we will continue to steal as well. Next question is from Jay Walker.
Thank you, Charles. I don't know if we can't see you anymore. We were able to see you, now we can't see you. A lot of the questions I had have been answered regarding moving forward, but I got 2 follow-up questions. Was there a sense that being the largest FCS conference in the country and seeing what happened, was there a sense that you guys have to be the one to take the mantle and move forward and play football in the spring?
Initially, no, Jay, and we are working on the video piece of this, and hopefully we'll get that up pretty quickly. But initially, no. We were kind of thrusted into this situation of having to take the lead, and it was based upon making sure that we do the right things. We just did not feel comfortable moving forward. With the addition of FAMU and with the addition of Bethune-Cookman right around the same time as football was starting to kind of ramp up, it put a spotlight on what we were doing. But ultimately, I think it shows the closeness that we have with our member institutions, presidents and chancellors, athletic directors, senior women's administrators, and football coaches and student athletes. We listen to all. We also listen to the fans as well. So our action and reaction was totally predicated upon all internal factors. But obviously, we were pleased to be kind of tagged as a leader. And that's what Southwestern Athletic Conference is all about, leading forward and producing leaders. And we will continue to try to do that.
What will happen? I noticed from doing football during this past fall, what will the steps be if somebody has a positive test? Will they have a mandatory, they'll have to sit out for 7 days? Are we going 14? What would be and is it going to be a conference-wide system set up much like the NCAA had, or you're going school to school? What would the rules be for a positive test?
Great question. We have adopted the resocialization plan from the NCAA, and we have followed that almost to the T. When I say almost to the T, one thing that we have done, Jay, is we have changed the cadence of that test 3 times a week. And we mandate that you test prior to each contest. So it would change the cadence. So when you step out on that field of play, you would have had a negative test. More specifically, and again, I hate to keep going back from basketball to football. For basketball, as you know, we play on Saturdays and Mondays. We've worked out to where you test prior to that Monday game. whether that's a rapid antigen test or a PCR test that can be locally administered, or you bring your own crew with you. Again, that is the reason why we're confident that we are doing the best for our student athletes. So the quarantine process is really going to be based upon local jurisdiction. And as you know, you have the 10-day quarantine process, you have the 7-day quarantine process, and then you have a 14-day from a positive. The 7-day quarantine process is for asymptomatic at a certain point at a certain time. But there are some jurisdictions that do not recognize the 7-day and will require either a 10 or 14. We're going to follow the CDC guidelines, which has been adopted by the NCAA, and the local jurisdictions, we're going to give them some opportunity to be able to chime in. So it's a conference-wide process, Jay, but it does give flexibility for those programs that can follow the CDC guidelines.
And my last question will be, for a Saturday game, when will be the last time somebody is tested? I just ask because I know there were times where this past fall teams were getting ready to get on the bus on a Friday and they would have to cancel the game that Saturday. When will be your last day for testing within your conference you see for Saturday football games?
Well, currently our policy is 48 hours prior to game time. So ultimately, we want to make sure that you have a negative test prior to getting on the bus going. So everybody that gets on that bus has to have a negative test. There are going to be some instances, Jay, where teams are not going to spend the night. There are going to be some instances where there are going to be day trips. One example would be Texas Southern and Prairie View. So they will have a little more time to test. But we are not going to allow individuals to get on that bus and travel without having a negative COVID test.
Gotcha. We can talk all day. I'll open it up to the rest of the group so they can get their questions in. Thank you, and congratulations. Good luck.
No problem. Thank you. Have we gotten the video problem worked out? Can you guys see me?
No, sir.
No,
okay.
sir.
We're still working on that. Next question is Nick Suss.
Hey, Charles. I just kind of wanted to ask a bigger picture question here. There have been a lot of SWAC schools that had their best recruiting years ever this year, and there's been a national push to try and get more top recruits to come to HBCs. I was just wondering, from your vantage point, what is gained when you have higher level recruits like this considering your conference, and what kind of a platform could that give you to grow the league?
Well, it has given us a tremendous platform, and actually it has let the nation know what we've known in the Southwestern Athletic Conference all along. This is a competitive league. We're on par with all other FCS leagues, and I would argue that we can compete against some Group of 5 leagues. So from a Southwestern Athletic Conference, as you all know, we've led attendance 42 of the last 43 years. We lead, from a classic standpoint, and I'm going to go on, and again, this is spring 2021, but I'm going to talk and add FAMU and Bethune-Cookman in for fall 2021. When you get to fall 2021, the 5 largest football classics are all going to be SWAC matchups. So you add games such as Texas Southern Prairie View, Jackson Grambling, Jackson Southern, Alcorn Southern, and I could go on where they're not, classics. So we have some classics that are rivals and some classes that are not. There are going to be games every week, and some possibly 2 and 3 games a week where we're going to have crowds between 40 and 60,000. Who does not want to play in that environment? We still have the opportunity to grow. We still have the opportunity to expand. And for all of those student athletes that want to participate in the end of a year bowl game, we have the Celebration Bowl. We have an ESPN partner that we're now in talks with, trying to expand our footprint and expand more linear games, as well as putting more games on the digital platform. So we want to be able to expand in brand. How does the SWAC negotiate with ESPN and other partners to do that? By what's going on now, high-profile student athletes that are coming in that is expanding the overall brand. But I would argue that our level of participation from our student athletes has been high. We have some talented football players. We have some talented student athletes within the Southwestern Athletic Conference. The only thing this does is raise that overall level of competitiveness, and it gives us a bigger brand to go out to sell, not only to our corporate sponsors, but our television partners as well.
Thank you.
Mo Carter, we have next up for questioning.
Hey, Dr. McClelland, hope all is going well with you and the family.
Thank you, Mo.
All right. Look, I know this is SWAC Football Media Day, but we're in an interesting scenario where you're going to have a lot of sports being played on campus in the spring, you know, with football and basketball and volleyball and track and field. What have been your conversations with the athletic directors and also with the presidents about trying to keep safe environments in the spring with so many more sports going on?
Yeah, we had an AD's meeting yesterday, and that subject was brought up, Mo, and it's definitely going to be a challenge. But I think if you look at the NCAA resocialization plan, when you start to get into the spring sports, the level of risk starts to go down. So the NCAA has put risk at 3 levels: the highest level, the mid-level, and the low level. And when you start looking at some of our sports, such as soccer, that level is lower. So a lot of the things that have to be done as far as testing and things of that nature takes a step down. So from volleyball, we're going to have to make a decision whether our volleyball teams play with mask or without mask. If they play with mask, then again, their tier goes down, and there's some different things that we have to do. So as far as keeping our student athletes safe, a lot of our member institutions through the federal government has received funds for testing and testing kits. So testing is not an issue for us. We can test and we can repeat those tests. And we think that that is extremely important. We can isolate and we can do the things that we need to do. I think the bigger challenge for our member institutions really is going to be staff to be able to put these games on. And what we're going to be working with them is the ability to move and shuffle to make sure that if you have 3 or 4 contests on your campus at that particular time, we might be able to shift and move so you can staff. But we're not concerned about ability for health and safety. Our member institutions, and again, I have to say hats off to the trainers and the medical providers. The fact that you see games being stopped and canceled, in my opinion, is a good thing. That means the Southwestern Athletic Conference is paying attention and they're doing what they're supposed to do. And we're going to continue to keep that first. We're not going to put anybody at jeopardy for the sake of playing a game. Our internal policies has recognized that all of these games are not going to be played. We're going to rank teams appropriately. So if we finish up with half the number of games or less than half the number of games, we're perfectly fine with that. And I'll say this, Mo, you didn't necessarily ask this question, but I had a particular student athlete come to me as we talked about play or not to play. And they said they've played in Little League, they've played in middle school, they've played in high school, they've played in college. We've gone through all of these protocols. We've gone through and done everything that you've asked us to do. I cannot go home. The environment that I am from is as dangerous outside of coronavirus as it is with coronavirus. I am in a better situation. Don't take my opportunity away to fulfill my dream of playing Division I intercollegiate athletics. And that is significant. We had to listen to all voices. And what we wanted to do was create the safest environment as possible. And again, we feel pretty comfortable that our student athletes are more safe with us than turning them back to the general community and where the infection rate is much higher than what you see contained within our athletics programs.
Thank you, sir.
Andrew said that was the last question, but I think we got time for a couple more. Ronald Wallace.
Good morning, Commissioner. Glad to talk to you again. Haven't talked to you in a while before COVID and stuff, but congratulations on having football when other college conferences aren't going to have football. So, I mean, all the focus is going to be on your conference. So, hoping we can be able to get some of those games on the Ball Down South Sports Network. But that'll be great. But, again, how are you guys I know you're going to keep all the student athletes safe and anybody that's associated with any of the sporting events. How do you feel coming into this? Do you think you guys have great things in place and that you're going to be able to succeed with this conference schedule that's going to go forth in football?
Yeah, again, I would just reiterate what we said before. COVID-19 is going to dictate what we do and how we do it. We're going to follow the advisement of our medical advisory committee and the boots on the ground. And if the recommendation comes to us that we are needing to stop, we're going to stop. COVID-19, again, is going to be the driver of this train. But as long as we can continue to get positive feedback that we can move forward, we're going to continue to move forward.
And I'm definitely excited to definitely cover the whole entire SWAC conference, doing some stories, some interviews with coaches, players, yourself, and other staff members. And we thank you for putting all this together.
No problem. Craig Haley.
Hey, Commissioner. Thank you for the time.
No problem, Craig.
Wanted to ask you about there is concern across the FCS about the number of games that players, student athletes could participate in one calendar year, 2021. Can you talk about the steps that have to be taken that, when you're playing over 20 games, just the steps health-wise that the conference will be considering?
Well, again, that was part of what we thought about, Craig, when we made the decision to move to the spring. One of the things that we are, again, unique in that we do not participate in the FCS playoffs. In any given year, some teams will play 10 games, some will play 11, but this spring they're scheduled for 6. We don't know if all 6 are going to make, but if I make that comparison to a regular FBS season, Craig, in order to win the national championship, you have to play 16 games. So within the Southwestern Athletic Conference, what we would do in the spring and in the fall would be no different than what the Power 5 or the Autonomy 5 would do for the national championship. So there are steps and protocols that we take. Health and safety is going to be there. We look at shortening some of the summer workouts and things of that nature to make sure that our student athletes have time to recover. And we'll look at some of those things as time evolves, and we'll make some of those decisions. But we feel pretty confident that the number of games that they will play in the spring and the fall will look no different than what a FBS team would play in a regular fall semester.
Thank you, Commissioner.
No problem. Stephen Gaither.
Hey, Commissioner, how you doing? Stephen Gaither from HBCU Game Day.
Doing well, Stephen.
Just wanted to ask, I know you touched on it briefly about the possibility and the chances that you guys have to really do some things on ESPN. There have been some reports out there that certain games are already on the docket for the big ESPN. I don't expect you to give us the whole schedule today or anything like that, but what's the possibility of that? Have there been any discussions, I should say, officially about possibly putting some SWAC games onto the main ESPN?
Absolutely, there's been discussions, Stephen, and they have not given us the schedule yet. And quite frankly, they're trying to get their spring schedule because we are being overlaid on what they already have. It's somewhat of a difficult issue for them. But we were very proactive in telling ESPN that we want our games on. As a matter of fact, I would say almost a demand to ESPN that we wanted our games on. And quite frankly, ESPN responded and said, yes, that they want those games on. And I'll take a step back and say, I have engaged ESPN to say, we want to take a look at expanding our coverage on ESPN. We understand that you already have games on a regular basis kind of overlaid, and we have our traditional days and times. But, quite frankly, Stephen, the Thursday night games, it doesn't really work for Southwestern Athletic Conference member institutions. We want to put our best games on television. And quite frankly, those best games are on Saturdays. Nobody is going to move, one of their 40 or 50 or 60,000 attended games on a Thursday night. So we've used this as an opportunity to kind of say, hey, we are the premier FCS conference, at least from an attendance standpoint, at least from a viewership standpoint. Give us that opportunity, and let's continue to get that opportunity in the fall. I don't care if it's spring, fall, or summer. The Southwestern Athletic Conference should be able to have high-profile games in prime time. So we're going to continue to put the full court press, and I quite frankly believe that ESPN will continue to hear our concerns. And I do believe that you're going to be able to see additional games on. But a short answer to your question, they have not given us the schedule. And once they give it to us, we will quickly let you and the public know.
Yeah, just about that. I appreciate you so much, and I'll be talking to you.
No problem. Mark Gray. Sorry.
Hey, Commissioner, congratulations. When you were able to work things out with Florida A&M and Bethune-Cookman to join the SWAC, there was a quote attributed to you, Super Conference. It looks like with the moves that you're making right now, you're following the mold. Can you expand on the overall vision of what that means? Are you embracing that concept? I mean, we're in an analytical-driven society, and all the analytics point to that direction. So can you explain your confidence in maintaining that?
Hey, that's a setup question. So I'm a pause and say, one, the Super Conference comment, I don't think I started that. I think, that was something that I read and I mentioned it. But I can tell you that we are a premier conference. We understand, and I said this from day one, we understand our value and we understand our worth, and we're going to start to demand that our value and our worth, be respected, and entities understand that. And I think that we are a big enough conference with enough name brands now to start setting some of our own terms. We don't necessarily have to acquiesce to some of the terms that have been laid out to us in previous times. So stopping short of saying what our long-term strategic goal is, specifically, I can tell you that it is continued to get stronger. It is to continue to recruit high-profile student athletes and high-profile coaches, to continue to push the envelope for us to get the television time and revenue that this conference deserves, and continue to grow and be a force. Now, your indirect question was, what about going to FBS? I'm going to stop short in that. But I would say we are going to continue to grow, and we're going to continue to get strong, and we're going to continue to put ourselves in the best possible position to dictate our terms and not let anyone else dictate to us where we're going to go.
Well, I wasn't thinking FBS. I'm thinking more along the lines of a lot of people often want to say that you're selling yourself short not going to the playoffs by going to the Celebration Bowl. I've had major arguments on the East Coast with people about that. What are the advantages? And can you talk about how the format is going to change, given that the MEAC no longer has a full conference in order to, pull from, so to speak?
So well, let's make no mistake about it. The MEAC is strong and is vibrant, and we will continue to participate in the Celebration Bowl with the MEAC. Regardless of how many teams that are in the SWAC and the MEAC, the Celebration Bowl is the SWAC champion versus the MEAC champion, and that will never change. What we employ the Celebration Bowl to do, especially being in the city of Atlanta, is to continue to make that bowl game an event. So the SWAC fans that come and the MEAC fans that come is just gravy on top of what's already there in Atlanta. So we hope that that game will continue to rise in attendance, and we put responsibility on the Celebration Bowl to continue to sell that game and to continue to put fans in the stands. When you look at most bowl games, the majority of the tickets are sold prior to teams being announced. So it doesn't really matter how many teams the MEAC has. We're going to continue to be committed, and it is the MEAC champion versus the SWAC champion. As it relates to participating in the FCS playoffs, Southwestern Athletic Conference hasn't participated in the FCS playoffs in quite some time. And it has been widely talked about that it costs money to participate in the FCS playoffs. What we're talking about is growing our brand. And we're talking about putting revenue back into member institutions. Our SWAC championship game has put revenue back into our member institutions, and the Celebration Bowl, quite frankly, has allowed us to get some of these recruits that you have mentioned prior to this event. National championship game on ABC Live, kicking off the bowl season, the Southwestern Athletic Conference versus the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. that's what we're focused on, not necessarily getting into the FCS playoffs, hopping on a bus, traveling to North Dakota to play North Dakota State. I think Andrew said we had time for one more question. Jerry Woodley.
Okay, can you hear me now, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah, I only have one question. If you can expound on, you mentioned staffing for the testing when you have multiple games and all scheduled for that particular institution on the weekend or whatever. Would it be a regional medical staff that would come in or a local medical staff that would come in and handle the testing for those teams?
I apologize. Maybe I wasn't clear, but the staffing was not for testing that I referenced. The staffing was sports information professionals, people to run the clocks, people to, take tickets, things of that nature. From a testing perspective, all of us has contracted out to third parties, the experts that are responsible for testing. So in no instance will we deviate from that model. So testing is not an issue. The very best have contracted with our member institutions, and that won't change. So I thank everyone for your time. We apologize about the video. Hopefully we have been informative and have answered your questions, and thank you for your coverage of the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
Serving the community through faith and athletics, the Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Once again, we'd like to thank everyone for your time here on this media day, and we do apologize there for the video technical difficulties that we experienced, but we will move along with the schedule, although we are a tad bit behind as it's printed, but we are going currently today in alphabetical order with our head coaches, and we would now like to bring in to join us here on Cricket Wireless SWAC Football Media Day from Alabama A&M head coach Connell Maynor. Coach, if you could please just start us off with an opening statement just as far as your outlook about this upcoming season.
Very excited. It's been a long time since we played football, and so just glad that we got the athletes safety first. They're student athletes and they're here to get an education, and we just play a game of football. So we want to make sure those guys are safe, and Commissioner and the conference does a great job of making sure that these guys are going to be safe. And I want what's best for those guys, and they want to play football. So I'm a football coach, and as long as it's safe, I'm all for it. And we're looking forward to it. It's going to be a very exciting year. We got some great football teams, some great coaches, and you got to play every week. And the conference is only going to get better next year with the addition of FAMU and Bethune-Cookman. So you got to roll your sleeves up, be ready to fight every week, man. How your team prepared.
Thank you so much for that, Coach. We will now open it up for questions, and I believe our first question will come from Charles Bishop.
Yes, Coach. Charles Bishop, Dr. Fields, inside HBC Sports Lab. I wanted to ask the question in regards to your overall coaching philosophy coming into this kind of unprecedented spring year, if you will. Will it be more evaluatory in terms of taking a look at your team in preparation for the fall, or is it foot on the gas, going after the SWAC championship, in the spring?
So we play every game to win. We're taking one game at a time, and we play it to win. So we're gonna put our foot on the gas and try to win every game we play, and try to win it this year in the spring, and see what we can do again next year. So we know everybody else gonna be doing the same thing. So we'll be prepared for great battles every week.
Our next question comes from Mo Carter.
What's up, Coach Maynor? I know you're ready to get everything going with the football season, and of course, it's been a very unique time when it comes to preparation and whatnot, not getting a chance to actually interact with your guys the way you probably want to. So with all this going on, is this a scenario where you probably had to maybe rely on some of your members of the football team to actually try to get after these other guys to motivate them and get them prepared for the upcoming year until the staff was able to eat and meet with the players?
Yeah, we did some Zooms, but, I tried to have the leaders and seniors and upperclassmen to, not only those guys work out, but call your teammates, call your position guys. Hey, man, what you doing? We need to be working out. You need to be on that track. You need to be in the weight room doing some push-ups, whatever you can do to make sure that we're in shape and we're ready to play. And, they get tired of hearing me say it. But when a leader say it, when the guys they look up to, a captain call them and say it, they can get it done quicker than I can, and especially in this situation. So, yes, I did. I leaned on those guys to do that, and hopefully they did.
And just from a leadership standpoint, of course, you've got Akil Glass coming back for his senior year. Of course, I know you're always hard on this guy, especially what you guys have in the quarterback backgrounds and whatnot. What are the expectations for Mr. Glass's upcoming year as he gets ready for basically his final season on the Hill?
Yeah, we got high expectations for Quill. He's done a great job since we've been here. He's a leader on and off the football field. He's made great strides every year, and we look for him to continue that. He's a NFL prospect. He's the number 20th ranked quarterback out of all senior quarterbacks in America. So, of course, we expect big things of him. He understands this. He understands that the quarterback position is different from any other position. So he's prepared to come in, work hard, and lead, and continue to do the little things and be a great quarterback that he is.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from Craig Haley.
Coach, can you hear me?
I can now, Craig.
Okay. Thank you for the time. Going into the off season last year, earlier in the year, I think you can make a case so many teams felt good about where they could be in this league race. Is that still the case, going this time now?
Well, Craig, I think you're correct by that. And I think that every year this time, you normally like your team. Everybody likes their team at this time. During the summer, coming into the beginning of the season, you think you sign some guys that can make a difference and help you out in the spots that you needed. You got some guys returning that you think are going to get a little bit better. So I think all coaches are optimistic that their team is going to get better, and they got a chance to win the conference when the season starts. So we're no different from anybody else. I got a great coaching staff, and we got some players, and we competed last year, and so we expect to compete this year coming up and have a chance at the end of the season.
Sure. It would seem that no matter what happens, so much of the attention is going to be paid to Coach Sanders and Jackson State. What is your feeling on that, knowing how much media attention has been paid to one school?
I think it's great. I think it's great for the conference. And of course, Jackson is getting most of the attention right now. I mean, every commercial I see Deion eating subs in the jacuzzi, out the window, on top of the car. So I think it's great because every time they show him, it brings up the SWAC, and everybody's saying, do you play Jackson State? Yeah, they're on our side. They're in our conference. We play them. So it's just bringing a lot more attention to the SWAC, and it's causing everybody else to get able to sign 3 stars and 4 stars and 2 stars as long as Jackson State is too. So I think it's great for the conference, and I look forward to playing Jackson and meeting Coach Sanders and competing against him.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Keisha Kelly.
Hey, Coach. Keisha Kelly from Black College Experience. I think Maria asked part of my question, but I asked the second half. In December and early signings, you look like you had, maybe 2, 3 stars. Can you talk about your anticipations or your expectations for those athletes that you just signed?
Yes, ma'am. I signed 2 quarterbacks, Carlos Dixon and Caden McClelland, and I signed a wide receiver, Malik Thomas. And it was a 4-star and 2 3-stars. And, for me, I played the position of quarterback, and I just think that, once if you have a quarterback, you got a chance. And if you look at all the teams that's winning championships, they got quarterbacks. If you look at the teams that's in the playoffs right now in the NFL, they have quarterbacks. So if you start off and you got a quarterback, you got a chance. And so we signed a 4-star and a 3-star, and of course we got a Quill Glass now, so that he gives us a chance. And when he's finished, one of those 2 guys will be playing quarterback, and hopefully we'll still have a chance to win every football game we play because we have quarterbacks.
Thank you, Coach.
You're welcome.
Comes from Stephen Gaither.
Hey, Coach Manning, how you doing?
Good, Stephen. How you doing?
Good. Just really quick, I know you kind of touched on it already, but Akil, you talked about where he is and where he's ranked. He is an NFL prospect, and a lot of those guys at the FCS level were either, when everything started going down, were either transferring to FBS schools or teams that were playing, or they were opting out for the NFL draft. Was there ever any concern or thought that maybe that might be the situation with him coming, once it was clear that there was going to be no fall season?
I really can't answer that question. He will be on here today. The one player that I brought, if they have questions for the players, but I don't know if anybody contacted him. He didn't put himself in the portal, so nobody shouldn't have contacted him. But he's still here, and some kids still have some loyalty. And back when we played, we had a lot of it. Nowadays, I think it's over 800 kids in the transfer portal. It's crazy. So I'm just happy and glad that he stayed with us.
And to that end, a lot of the HBCUs have been signing some former FBS players. And if you look at what's going on in college football also with just eligibility, with the transfer portal, with the eligibility situation as well, where there's kind of a log jam. How has that helped you guys maybe add to your team? Obviously, you've been getting transfers and things like that since, you were back, since you started your coaching career. But how has this year been different in that market as far as between the transfer portal, kind of the log jam, especially at the top tier schools, in terms of kind of getting some talent to come over to the FCS ranks, and you guys obviously have been able to scoop up some?
Yeah, it's basically a recruiting service, especially this year with the pandemic. A lot of high school kids are going to miss out because so many people in the transfer portal, and guys and coaches are getting guys out of the portal. You got to be careful not to get them all, because you got to keep your classes level. So you still got to get some high school kids, but it's just a great recruiting tool, and you got to do your homework on those guys and make sure they was playing and they weren't trouble kids and things of that nature. But in the past, I signed kids from Mississippi State. I had a kid from Tennessee. So I've had Power 5 transfers before, and I'm still getting them. So it's just magnified a little bit more now.
Thank you so much, Coach. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Next question goes to Mark Gray.
Hello, Coach.
Hello, Mark. How you doing?
All right. How you doing, sir? Great to see you. Happy New Year and all that good stuff. As a former All-MEAC championship player, you know what FAMU and Bethune-Cookman are all about. Not only do they come to your conference now, they come to your division. How much tougher has the challenge gotten, adding those two programs, gotten in your division?
Unbelievable. Our division was already tough. With just having Alcorn, it was tough enough. And now they're moving those guys and bringing in FAM and Bethune. So it don't get any tougher. You got Jackson State. So we got our hands full, again, every week. And then when you cross over and go out of conference, you still got Southern and Grambling and teams like that. So Alabama State, our rivalry, so you throw your records out in that game. There's going to be 60,000 people there. And Coach Ely is ready to bite. So every week, man, it's just unbelievable conference. The inside running joke is this: we the SEC of the FCS.
Yeah, and to that end, Coach, just talk about the depth of the league. You've coached on many different levels. You've played on many different levels, and to just watch how this league has come together. Can you just give me a sense of how it compares to when you were playing and the overall, where it sits right now in terms of what it's done for the perception of black college football?
Yeah, when I played, you still had your family, Bethune, Howard was good, and of course we was good at North Carolina A&T. So, but now it's 8-9 good football teams, and it's 12 great football coaches. Every week Teams are prepared, and the schemes are great. And you really got to study a lot of film. These guys are very well prepared. They do a great job of coaching, getting their teams prepared. And a lot of times it's, who makes one more play than another team, because both teams are well coached and got great athletes out there. We put a good product on the football field, both teams. And it's just no gimme games. I can't look at my schedule and circle game and tell my guys, don't worry about this game. That's a stat game. It's no such thing. You got to be prepared to play every week.
Thanks. Good luck. Hope to see you soon.
Yes, sir. You too. Thank you.
Next question comes from James Barrett.
Coach?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks, Coach. When you talk about roster management, how difficult has it been doing things remotely, not having all the guys there to try to integrate your high-profile transfers in with the guys that you already have?
Yeah, that's the hardest part, because normally you get those guys and they be around everybody else and they start to learn their teammates, see who they like to be around, do things on campus, do things off campus, and guys show those guys the ropes, where they go, when they go eat, where we sit at, things of that nature. So that's been the hardest part, but everybody has to deal with it. Everybody's on the same level. Nobody has the advantage over anybody else, and so you got to just make do what you got.
And the difficulty of roster management, I know all the kids will have an extra year of eligibility. How difficult will that be when you have to make decisions on who have a scholarship, and how do you go out and sign other people to make sure that you're girded for years to come?
Well, for me, it won't be very difficult. I take my seniors, how many seniors I got. It's going to be very simple for me. If you're an all-conference player, I'm going to bring you back. And if you're not, I'm not going to bring you back, and I'm going to go out and sign me some freshmen and develop those guys and get those guys ready to play. My guys going to know that from day one. The parents going to know that from day one. And I just can't bring all the seniors back and not sign any freshmen. I can't do that. So if a senior is a valuable part of the program and an all-conference player, I'm going to be obligated to bring him back, and then I'll just sign them as freshmen as I can.
All right. And, Coach, one last question. How difficult was it for you to sit down in the fall and not coach?
It was difficult. It's been a long time since I had to do that. So, but I got to watch a lot of football, and which we don't normally get to do, especially on Sundays and Saturday afternoons. So, got to watch a lot of football. I enjoyed that, but I did miss coaching.
Thank you, Coach.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Actually have a surprise guest here. Akil Glass is taking some time out of his schedule to join us from Alabama A&M. We would like to give any media the opportunity that would like to have questions for him. If you could just please either raise your hand feature here on Zoom or submit a request there on the chat. We've got a few more minutes so we can take a few more questions. And apparently we do have a question for Mr. Glass, and that question will go to Ron Wallace.
Good morning, Mr. Glass.
How's it going?
So you coming back, I know you're one of the leaders on the team. What are you going to do as your part, meaning, quarterback, that's a prestige position on the team. You are the coach on the field at that time. What are you going to do, and what are you going to do to make sure you home in the guys to sacrifice for this definitely this season, because it's a pandemic season, but to be able to, come out and win and possibly get to that conference championship?
It started last fall. We were up here in the semester just doing workouts. The coaching staff wasn't as much involved as they normally are. So just being able to get the guys out, running routes at a local park, working out at a local gym, doing all that, making sure everybody's doing what they can do in that situation is most important to me. But as we go into the season, just reminding those guys to be diligent with wearing their mask, social distancing, all those things, so that we can play as many games as possible.
Next question is Stephen Gaither.
Hey, Mr. Glass, how you doing?
Doing good.
Good. Glad to have you on here. So I was asking Coach if he was concerned because when everything went down back in the fall, a lot of the top FCS players like yourself were either signed with schools that were playing or FBS schools, or then possibly going to putting their name out for the NFL draft. You chose to come back and play for the spring, compete in your senior season. Did you ever give any consideration to opting out or looking at transferring, or were you pretty set from day one that you were going to come back and finish up with AAMU? Or how real of a possibility was it?
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. It crossed my mind. I talked with my family and a couple of my closer people in my circle that I look for advice. And I just think that staying here was the best decision. You know, transferring somewhere, nothing's guaranteed. You can get hurt. You can go there and be a backup. But here I have my position. I know the coaching staff. I know the offense. It's my team. So, and as far as opting out and declaring, I just think that I have 2 more seasons left, so I'll use both of them to get the best chance possible to put myself and my family, set them up for the future.
Got you. So, with that said, you're available for the spring and the fall of 2021.
Yes, sir.
Got you. So, with that, obviously, you're one of the faces of the conference, not only of the school but of the conference. It's been traditionally a great quarterback conference. What do you think? What does it mean for you to build on your legacy and try to bring the championship back there in Alabama A&M, where they've had a great history of being competitive and getting there to the SWAC championship game?
It means a whole lot. You know, not only to be considered one of the greats in this conference, but to be one of the faces of this program. It's an honor to be at such a prestigious institution, and just making the best every day, and like you said, bring the championship home. Hopefully, we have 2 in the next year or so. But just doing that and continuing to build on everything that I've done, and just getting better every day. You know, it may seem like I've made it, but I know every day that I can get better at something, whether it be big, small, medium, no matter what. Just trying to do that.
Appreciate you. Good luck, and we'll catch you later.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Our next question goes to Mo Carter.
Hey, Quill, hope all is well, man. Congratulations on the graduation as well. I know you guys are very, very excited for you. Got one quick question about this Alabama A&M offense. Of course, you guys broke all kind of records last year, but this upcoming season, you do lose your workhorse in Jordan Bentley, but you still do have some great receivers like Xavier Moore, Adu Fatai Ibrahim, and you get BJ back. I'm talking about what this offense can do this year and when it comes to becoming successful again.
I think last year we had a great offense, but in all honesty, I think that we can be even better this year. You know, with me growing mentally, physically, like you said, Brian Jenkins being healthy. Yes, we did lose Jordan Bentley, but, you know, we gained a couple guys, and we got a couple guys that have been on the team just waiting to get the opportunity. They're hungry, and I know they'll step up and be ready when that number is called. But like I said, I think that we can be even better than we were last year. I think we averaged like 34 points. I think our goal is offense to average 40, 45 points. And I think that's a realistic possibility for us.
Thanks, man. Good luck this year.
Thank you. No problem.
Next question goes to James Hill.
Hey, Mr. Glass, talk about just going into the season in the spring as opposed to in the fall. Just your mindset going in a COVID environment.
You know, it has been weird not being able to play in this fall. You know, your body clock is kind of telling you that you're supposed to be playing. You know, your body doesn't feel right. But it's been hard, but it's been a nice challenge. Just trying to keep all the guys motivated, keep all the guys ready to play, and just making them understand that this is the season. It's not spring ball like it normally is. This is a real season that we're competing for real championships and real records, real stats, all of that. So just make sure those guys know the severity of the situation and understanding what we have to do to get our jobs done.
You'll see Alcorn State University in week 1. It's going to be a battle of 2 super-duper quarterbacks. Talk a little bit about that. I know it's far away, but talk about what you envision.
You know, we're all excited about it. We've had the game circled since we played them last year. But, they're a great team. They're a well-coached team. They win championships. So I think we just have to come in, play the best game we can play, and we have a very good chance.
Thank you. Good luck.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Next question goes to A.D. Drew.
A.D. Drew, Black College Sports Network. Quinn, we all know that part of the HBCU experience is the culture. But we know going into this spring season, there's a distinct chance that there will be no fans, no band, none of the other things that we've associated with the HBCU experience. Has that crossed your mind? Have you discussed it amongst yourselves and amongst your teammates? And can you imagine actually playing the Magic City Classic possibly this April in front of limited or no fans?
Of course it's crossed our mind. We talked about it as a team and amongst us. But like I said before, just focus on the main thing at hand. Football has always been the main thing. All the other stuff has just been extras. So no matter what happens, whether we have 0 fans or 25% capacity, we're always going to be ready to play and put our best product out there on the field.
All right, next question comes from Alex Hines.
Yes, how you doing today, Mr. Glad?
How's it going? I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm calling from Alex Hines for just HBCU Sports, and I would like to know, what has the NFL said about your chances of being drafted?
I can't speak on that. I haven't talked to any NFL teams. But as far as I know, there's a chance out there. Teams are interested. I haven't talked to them personally. They talked to my coaching staff, and they relayed the information to me. But there's a good chance, and I just got to keep doing my job, keep doing what I need to do, keep getting better every day, and I'll have a very nice chance to stay at the next level.
Thank you very much. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Coach Manor and Mr. Glass, thank you so much for your time. We will try to move ahead here. It's scheduled. I know we are a bit behind here as our first opening guest there went a little bit long, but we will move forward now with Alabama State. Coach Ely, thank you so much for your patience, sir. Coach, if you could please start us out just with an opening statement in regards to your outlook for the upcoming season.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Again, just excited to be back. Our young men checked in yesterday and started today with orientation. And, it's been a whole calendar year before we actually have had the opportunity to take the field and, get these guys ready for competition. We're looking forward to a first ever spring season. And, the young guys been excited, and we're just looking forward to, week in and week out, great contest.
Thank you so much, Coach. We will now open it up for questions. And our first question comes from Ronald Wallace.
Good morning, Coach Ely.
Good morning, sir.
Coach, I see your schedule states that you guys are going to be playing Southern first right off the top. What do you expect out of your guys, and what do you think it's going to take to beat a team like Southern University?
Well, you hadn't played Southern in a while. You do get the film and the exchange from other, opponents. And Coach Odoms has done a great job of having a great team year in and year out. You're talking about the first 2 weeks that we played. We're playing the number 2 team in the conference and the number 1 team in the conference from the conference championship game. So we know that they, play great brand of defense offensively. They do a good job of scoring. So, we have to be ready for the challenge, taking the field coming off the bat, and we'll be ready for that. The key to us is being healthy and making sure that we get all our guys to the gate, and that's with not just ankle injuries and shoulders. Now we have to guard against COVID. So we have to take all measures that we can to be able to get our guys there to for those first 2 opponents and really for every week. So we're looking forward to the contest versus Southern, and we welcome that traditional game back on our schedule.
Next question comes from Stephen Gaither.
Dr. Ely, how are you doing?
Good. What's going on there, sir?
Good. So just wanted to ask, Obviously, same question that everybody else is getting to ask. Obviously, you're a football coach, and so football is the main thing for you. But obviously, you got that nice big stadium, and you look forward to being pretty full when you open up and throughout the year as well. How do you, we've seen the basketball games this year where there really haven't been fans or been limited fans. How important will does that kind of negate some of the home field advantage other than the travel part without the fans and everything like that? Just as far as, sometimes, the crowd does give you a lift or the band will give you a lift or things like that. But, have you thought about how it'll actually have an effect on your team maybe?
Yeah, I mean, as you look at it, our 20% in the stadium is much greater than a lot of other places because of our stadium size. But, we have a brand that we sell here at Alabama State, and that includes the band, that includes the tailgating. So we have to deviate from the brand that we're, giving to our fans and now alter and adjust so that we can provide a safe environment for entertainment. And so, we'll take all the measures that we can to add, sound and like everybody else is doing to the state, at their stadiums, as we've seen in the with the fall sports. So we'll take some things away, from our walk that normally do our Hornet walk in the stadium. Those things have to change. So we take all the precautions so that we can have a good football game because, even though those things are our brand, the 60 minutes on the field is the only thing that really matters. And we'll find a way that we can put our best performance on the field for those 60 minutes.
And last question, the last half decade or so, the SWAC East on the outside looking in has been Alcorn, everybody else versus Alcorn. What is it going to take? What is it going to take for you guys to break through and compete with Alcorn for that SWAC East title, and then go ahead and get into it? How close do you feel like you guys are to doing that?
Well, again, as Coach McNair has established a lot of tradition down in Alcorn, and they found ways to win. As you can tell by the East, it's not about just Alcorn. The schedule is so strong that if you lose one game, you can, on your side, you almost can pack it in. So week in and week out is a competitive fight. Coach Maynard and those guys are doing a great job at A&M, and we have started out, beat Alcorn and came back and lost before. So you have to just prepare week in and week out and find a way to win every week if you want to be victorious.
Thanks, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Next question comes from Mo Carter.
Hey, Coach Ely, how's it going, my friend?
What's going on, brother?
Just living another day and trying to hope for the football season to go well. Just one big question for you. Of course, everybody's dealing with COVID, and I know it was a huge challenge. Can you kind of talk about what the challenges were for you guys personally, especially being in Montgomery? Because I remember Mayor Stephen Reed had kind of put the cuffs on the city at one point in time, trying to keep everybody safe.
Well, as a football coach, you miss being out on the field and the growth of watching the guys develop on the field. But, for a lot of the guys that we serve, we're their extended fathers. So now when you have those 320-pound guys at home eating up the food mom hadn't prepared to feed them, they're calling trying to find resources. When you have guys that now at home and the mom are used to them not being there and breaking curfew, so you become a Zoom dad. So now you're on the phone trying to get somebody house because you just sent their kid back and they're not prepared to raise their own child. So now early on, a lot of folks, when Nick Saban say that the best place for the players is in the program, it wasn't about football. It was about keeping them safe from ripping and running through the neighborhoods. It was about nurturing, making sure that they can have something nutritious to eat every day. So those are the things that, we had problems with is, you can Zoom a young man and get him up and do all the things that you need to do. But as we can tell by this, you can turn the video off and go back and lay down. So it's all those things of trying to do that nurturing part as a coach and as an extension of a father to these young men on Zoom. And it's just good to get them back and to get them back prepared. It's a lot of stuff that has to go in place. These guys hadn't had contact in a year. So we have to, go back and reteach those motor skills of how to get up and down, how to hit the bags and, same foot, same hand. So there's a lot of stuff that we have to get back so that, one, when we do take the field in the spring, we look prepared, because we don't want to lose our overall look at HBCU football by just putting guys out on the field. So we still have to protect our brand that we've been able to put out, and we'll get that done.
Thank you.
Next question is Mark Gray.
Dr. Hill, how are you, sir?
What's going on, stranger?
It's been a long time. It's been so long. Last I knew you were Coach Hill. Now you Dr. Hill. So, again, heartfelt congratulations on that. With that being said, I did want to take you back to the MEAC for a little bit and talk about what FAMU and Bethune-Cookman you think are bringing to your league. You're going to face both of them every year since they're in your division. You know something about going up. Their conventional playing personalities. How do they fit into what the conference has done? How great of a challenge will they present, certainly on your side of the conference?
Well, when you look at FAM and Bethune, and from being, a coach in the MEAC for a long time, it almost like they were out of place in the MEAC. As a coach, you would go in, and some places you would go in and see the 2,000-3,000 people. Whenever you hit down in FAM and Bethune, you saw tradition. You saw the vendors. You saw the bands of 300 and more, the grill smoking, the teams with the energy. So for them to come over, it's almost like putting them back in place where that same tradition in the SWAC is every week in, week out. Whether you are in a NFL venue playing classic or you just home and home, that same type of tradition that those two schools have put in place and have been a year in, year out, we welcome that on this side. So I'm looking forward to getting back down to Tallahassee and turning that corner and seeing that band pumping. And I'm looking forward to getting down in Daytona and again seeing that great team that Sims has put in place. So it's welcome, and I think it's going to add a lot of excitement to our league that had already had plenty of excitement. So I'm looking forward to it, and I know a lot of the coaches and a lot of our fans are looking forward to it as well.
Thanks, Coach.
Next question is Charles Bishop.
How you doing, Coach?
What's going on, sir?
I wanted to ask a little bit about offensively. Statistically, you're one of the better defenses in the SWAC last year, but offensively, you have a dynamic player, Michael Jefferson. And I wanted to ask a little bit about the quarterback play. Kadarius Davis is coming back. Will he get the first shot in terms of being quarterback for your Hornet team this upcoming season?
Well, we have some, Kadarius, again, did the best that he could for us as he led us with a lot of good balls to Mike Jefferson. Mike Jefferson is back. You'll see some different quarterback. We have to find the trigger guy that can keep us competitive week in and week out. Point-wise, offensively, we've pretty much retained everybody offensively, so we'll be able to have the same system. This is the first time probably since I've been around that we've had the same coaches in place. So I'm looking forward to getting the guys back out and having some normalcy with these guys, understanding what to expect. As talk to and listen to Akil Glass, and he talked about playing in his system and understanding what's going on, and it's good for our guys to be in that same kind of situation, that we're not changing guys week in and week out, and now these guys can compete and to get the production up. So we're looking forward to still having a great defense, and we're looking forward to closing the gap with offense and defense, with offense and special teams.
Sure thing. Thank you, Coach.
Next question is Nick Alvarez.
How you doing, Coach? My name is Nick Alvarez. I'm with the Montgomery Advertiser. I wanted to ask you kind of about, there's a lot of talk in 2020 about racial justice in this country. Obviously, Montgomery has a huge kind of history with racial justice. I guess, what does it mean to you to be kind of heading an HBCU team in 2021, especially with, the addition of, Deion Sanders into the conference? We've seen across other HBCU athletics teams, they're kind of becoming more prominent. I guess, what does it mean to you to kind of be heading a program in this time where the league and the, concept of these universities being athletic schools are getting more attention?
Well, sports have, even way back in the day, has been that bridge to bring everyone together. And HBCUs have been more welcoming than a lot of the PWIs have ever been when it comes to the inequalities in the country and discrimination. And as we, take the field, and I always tell the players, we have white coaches, we have white players, and I think when you can look at Alabama State take the field and you see the middle linebacker take his helmet off and he's a white kid and he is having a great experience, and the punters, the kickers, and the coaches having a great experience, I think that people can learn from our game of being able to have equality and being able to have respect for each other, because the bottom line, it comes down to respect, that we need to, regardless of color and creed, respect each other. And, and that has been something that has changed the world. And I'm quite sure, America's strong. We still live in the best country in the world. And as Eddie Robinson always say, when we see the flag, we salute it the same way as whites and as blacks. We all love our country and what it has done for us. And, we'll continue to serve and continue to do what we need to do to grow our young men, whether they're white or black, and to do the best that we can do by each other.
Time for two more questions. The first one goes to James Barrett.
Coach, during the time of the fall when you did not have football, what were you doing to try to keep your players engaged and also keep yourself engaged during an unprecedented time when you couldn't play the game?
Man, it's been a rough year. So the biggest thing is sharing in the experiences. I lost my father during the COVID, my uncles, aunts, cousins, players lost friends. So it's been able to mainly let them know that this thing is real and that we have to do the things that's necessary to protect ourselves. You can't go to the parties. Everybody was getting cabin fever. So, just because, somebody opens the trunk and start playing music, you can't just all of a sudden do what you used to do. So mainly just, with young people, letting them know they're not invincible, that this thing will carry you out. And I think when we had a couple of players that tested positive, some got sick, some didn't, it's now being there for them, because when they, these are young people as well. So when they, coach, I'm testing positive, and to them, it's, on the other end of the phone, it sounds like they got a death sentence. But just understanding that we have some of the best resources in the country, but importantly, do your part. If you get sick, there's resources for you. Stay motivated, do what you need to do, contact trace, all those other things. Just getting the young folks to have some discipline. When we get back here, as I'm expressing to them now, we have to be in a bubble. You have to have that same 5 guys that you work out with is the same 5 guys that you need to eat with in the cafeteria, and the same 5 guys you need to be with playing your PlayStation. So we have to now get them to be a little selfish by just being with a small group of guys and not, letting people in their bubble, whether it be a girlfriend or cousin or whoever. And those are things that is going to promote a lot, that's going to require a lot of discipline of our players, and we just as coaches have to monitor.
Thank you, Coach.
Last question goes to James Hill.
Hey, Coach, I hope you and your family are well. Could you speak to the academic excellence of Mr. Ezra Gray? And then also the second question would be the Magic City Classic as we look to Birmingham, possibly with no fans.
But, anytime that you get a student athlete like Ezra Gray to be able to, pursue the academic Heisman. And it's not just competing with ourselves. I think what that does for us as a conference and what it does for us as a university is that, he was going against a lot of FBS guys, a lot of high-ranking FCS guys, but it continues to say to the world that that HBCUs and mainly the SWAC, we can do more and have done more with less than they've ever done and still be able to reach some of the highest honors and accolades that they have to offer. So, we know that we limited in resource, but we're not limited in effort, and we're definitely not limited in the talent that we're able to bring to our university. So for Ezra to be able to have a 4.0 unblemished and to be able to bring that kind of notoriety to our conference, it says a lot for him, but more importantly, it says a lot for what happens here at Alabama State and in our conference.
Coach, the second question, the actual Magic City Classic in April. Talk about what that might look like with no fans. Great football game, but it might not have all the elements around the game that we look forward to every year.
Well, I'm quite sure Coach Maynard and anybody that have participated in that game can tell you the two teams, we would love to have fans there, but it's going to be a fight, whether it's no fans, whether it's packed to the house, throw the records out. This is a blackjack versus thunder, and it always has been. And it's just going to be sad that it's Ali versus Frazier, but nobody's going to be able to call it. So we just fight from sun up to sundown.
Thank you, Coach. Stay safe.
All right, brother.
Coach, we sincerely appreciate your time. We do apologize for the delay in getting started, and we look forward to speaking with you after week 1 on the coaches teleconference.
All right, you all take care now.
Thank you. We will now go to Alcorn State head coach Fred McNair. Coach, we appreciate your patience. If you could please start us out with an opening statement in regards to your outlook for the upcoming football season.
Well, I think it'll be a great day for our young men. As long as we keep the young men healthy, that's been my whole issue during the offseason. We have participated in any organized camp activity since March the 6th, so we're behind the 8 ball on that, as of all the other SWAC schools, I'm quite sure. Just being able to get these guys back healthy and get them strong and get them in some kind of conditioning to where they can compete to the fullest and the max of their ability, for one, during this course of the spring. Football is football, and I'm a football coach, and I'm excited anytime to get ready to play football. So it'll be a great video during the spring, hopefully, throughout this COVID deal, and keep all these young men healthy and the staff and all the supporting staff, just keeping health throughout this spring. That's a challenge for us during the course of the spring. We got all these spring sports started up at this time, and it'll be a challenge for us because during our camp during the summertime, we always, if the climates don't really agree to us outside, we're able to come inside to the gym floor and use it. But now during the course of the spring, you got basketball this season, so we have to find a way to get practice in during the course of the bad climate, which is going to be rain and cold weather. So, but the season I'm excited about it. Anytime we get a chance to play football and just mentor these young men that we have here on campus. It was a great deal to this coaching staff. These parents trust us to do the right things by these young men that we recruit. So we're excited about getting the young men in, and their report tomorrow. We'll do testing on Friday and get to work on Monday, or on Tuesday, since it's national holiday on Monday. But I'm excited about it.
Thank you so much for that, Coach. We will go in the order of the questions as they were asked in the chat. And the first question for Coach McNair goes to Ron Wallace.
Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, Ron.
Coach, you got a lot of senior guys coming back this season. What do you expect out of those guys and the leadership that they can bring to your program?
offensive and defensive, we've got a lot of good players and got a lot of good leaders individually on and off the field. And as coaches, we rely on those guys to keep these guys together and keep them safe during the course of the day. Whether it's just keeping that bubble with those guys and do make sure they're doing the right things and wearing the mask and those things. So I've got a lot of great leadership on both sides of the ball, and we expect that to carry on during the course of this spring. So we got a short time to get these guys ready to participate in a very competitive sport. So we're gonna rely on those guys to make sure those guys doing the right thing in their spare time.
Comes from James Durrett.
Coach, your thoughts on the new flag that is raised in the state of Mississippi? How important is that to the state, and how does that change, if anything, the way that you recruit?
The biggest thing is it's a Magnolia State anyway, so I was all for it, the way they presented it and the way they voted on it to get a new flag. So, it means a lot to the state of Mississippi that we can come together and solve one solution to a problem in that sense. So, recruiting, we're going to always recruit the way we've been recruiting. As far as this coaching staff, we always recruit the state of Mississippi first before we go anywhere in the states to recruit. So we always recruit hard in the state of Mississippi to get the best players to come to Alcorn State University first, whether it's JUCO, whether it's high school. So it's been a great deal for us to be able to recruit in the state of Mississippi.
Coach, also, I know that the team north of you has a new coach. Is that bigger for the fans, or does it raise the eyebrows of the coaches that you have a new person coming in trying to bring a little bit more flavor to the SWAC?
I think the biggest thing is that what it means to the conference in terms of Coach Sanders up there. It's just a conference thing, but as far as a coach, for me, it's just another coach on the sideline. We have to go out and coach our butts off every Saturday. It's a competitive nature. He's a competitive coach, and so is this coaching staff we have here. So every Saturday we always go out and compete, whether it's Jackson, Prairie View, Southern, Grambling. We teach our kids that every Saturday we have to go out and lace our cleats up and play hard every Saturday. So it's not a big issue for me in this coaching staff. We have to coach every Saturday. It's better than the conference staff.
Thank you, Coach.
Next question goes to Stephen Gaither.
Hey, Coach McNair, how you doing?
I'm good, Stephen.
Good to talk to you. You come into this season with the young man, with the last offensive player of the year that we had, the quarterback, and obviously, the tradition there, Alcorn State being a part of that tradition at great quarterbacks. What is it that Felix Harper has brought to you guys? I mean, you've had a lot of success with a lot of different guys. What makes Felix Harper special, and what has you excited about what he's going to be able to do this year?
Well, the biggest thing is Felix is a very smart quarterback. He graduated already. He's up in grad school now. So Felix, what he does, he's a very heady quarterback. He brings a lot to the table for us. He's a great leader. He understands the concept about this offense, what we're trying to do, and what we're trying to get to. He understands coverage. He understands fronts. Just teaching him the things that he knows now and being able to come back, play in the spring, and we'll be able to play in the fall. My biggest thing is just keeping all those young men healthy and getting them through this spring with another championship.
And then lastly, you also brought in Quinn Gray, former FAMU great, another great former HBCU quarterback, NFL quarterback. Talk about what he brings to the table for you guys, not only in terms of mentoring Felix, but also helping get you guys in over there in Florida. You guys have had some success recruiting there before, but obviously a guy like him who's ingrained in that culture, obviously that's probably going to help you, especially now with the Florida teams coming in the league too.
The biggest thing is about Coach Gray when he came in for the quarterback coaching job. He blew it out of the water. Understand the concept, understand coverage, understand the teaching of a quarterback, the fundamental basic skills in developing a quarterback. What Phoenix has and some of the things he can add to the things that he can teach Phoenix as well. And the other criteria, being on this coaching staff and being able to recruit in the area such as Florida. Florida's a big area. We have to get out and recruit some of the best, the FBS schools and most of the FCS schools as well. So being able to recruit is one of the things that we look for in an assistant coach that comes into this staff. Being able to do that means a lot to this program, as well as university, bringing great kids in, great character kids that can be able to play and compete as well.
Next question goes to Ms. Keisha Kelly.
Hey, Coach McNair, Keisha Kelly, Black College Experience. My one long question is, how are you feeling about this new realignment moving to the West with the competitiveness? Of course, you have Coach Odom, Fobbs, and Dooley. How are you feeling about this new realignment moving to the West?
Well, that's a great question, but question to answer. Because every year I see Coach Odom, I see Coach Fobbs, and I see Coach Dooley. Two coaches I don't see is Coach McKenzie and Coach Doc Gamble at Texas Southern and Pine Bluff. So I get a chance to get coach this year. So, I think, they did a great job of putting us over there. Geographic-wise, it's a great decision. It's an easy decision for the commissioners to make, and which, I have no problem playing football. Very competitive coach, and this coaching staff that we have is a very competitive coaching staff. And so we always put together a great game plan for those guys anyway over on the east side. So this will be the last time we'll see the east side before we move on to the west during the fall.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Our next question goes to Nick Suss.
Hey, Fred, just wanted to ask you, big picture, this last year or so, there's been kind of a national movement to get more high-profile recruits to play at HBCs. Have you seen or heard from recruits who maybe are looking at a place like Alcorn differently this year than they were at this time last year?
I got a kid from Colorado State here this past year. Actually, the kid came from Colorado State as a transfer. And one of the things that he's mentioned to me that, I try to recruit the kid out of high school when he was in high school. So when he got to really figure out that about what the HBCU schools are about this conference, he acknowledged that, man, I could have came the first time, and that means a lot to this conference and HBCU schools and what we're doing in terms of recruiting schools, kids from those schools, the Power Fives and all those schools like that, and just being able to recruit, period, try to get some of those 4-star, 3-star kids. We got some of those here on campus, and we're always looking forward to get some more. Like now, I was on a conference call, a Zoom call with the AFCA convention last week, and one of the things that they mentioned about the transfer portal, and now high school kids are really going to be in a state of shock because now you got all these kids in the transfer portal. You can recruit out of the transfer portal now. You got over 800 kids in the transfer portal. So you just go to the transfer portal in terms of recruiting high school kids, but that's not the direction I want to go. If there's someone that's there that we can really use, I'm going to try to get it. But I'm always reflecting on some of the high school kids that can come in and help our program and compete.
How valuable is it for the footprint of this league to start getting those higher profile recruits out of high school?
It's big for this league. I mean, they're saying now that this is a more competitive league than it's ever been. And Dr. McClelland said in his statement, this is Supreme League, and it's very big that we're doing the things that we're doing to grow this league. And I think that he's doing an outstanding job of promoting things that need to be noticed to come to this conference to play. And we're getting a lot of guys that want to come to this conference from FBS schools and things of that nature, and from the upper FCS schools as well. So you see a lot of those kids in the transfer portal, and you wonder what is going on and the things of that nature. But I think that we're doing such a great job in this conference that people want to see us play. And like you said, we always first in attendance in the LCS, so that's been a great deal for us.
Coach McNair, we do appreciate your time. In order to try to get back here on schedule, we are going to cut the questions off here. If there are still questions for Coach McNair, we do ask you to please just send a message to their media relations contact, which is Brian Courts. He can be reached at briankortz@hotmail.com, and I will put that email in the chat. With that being said, Coach McNair, thank you so much for your time. We look forward to speaking with you later this season.
Thank you, guys. Great job.
We will now move to our next coach slated on the agenda, which is Coach Broderick Fobbs, Grambling State University. I see Coach Fobbs has joined us. Coach Fobbs, if you would, sir, please be so kind to start us out with an opening statement in regards to your outlook for the upcoming season.
Well, it's kind of strange, starting a season here in the winter and spring semester, but we're extremely excited about getting an opportunity to play. Watching all of those programs play this past fall was really, really tough for us. But at the same time, we understand why we did what we did, and I don't regret it one bit. So we're excited about that. We're excited about getting a chance, to play this game that we all love and coach this game that we all love, and really just get back to work and do things the way we normally been doing them.
Fobbs, thank you so much for that. We will now open it up for questions for Coach Fobbs, and our first question will go to Mr. Santoria Black.
Coach, how you doing?
Hey, Mr. Black, how you doing?
I am doing well. Well, first of all, I know this has been a tumultuous time for a lot of people with everything that has gone on in the conference and, just around the country, especially in Louisiana. What were some of the things that you did in order to encourage your guys on how to stay healthy, how to stay in shape as they get ready to go into this spring ball?
Well, it was extremely tough. Anytime you're dealing with 18 to 23-year-old kids, it's extremely, extremely tough because you can't keep a beat on them, you can't keep a finger on them. But for the most part, our focus was about doing things the right way and really understanding that you're obligated to not only protect yourself but protect the next man next to you or the next woman next to you. So for us, it was more about being safe. And then after that, and after we understood all of those factors, then it became about making sure that you put yourself in position to be the best version of yourself when we do start this particular season.
You had the opportunity, Coach, to be the beneficiaries of really great signees and kids who want to play at Grambling State University. And, look, it's no secret that a lot of players have said, I want to go to a Grambling or to a school at an HBCU because of the current culture and the current climate of our country. If you could talk a little bit about being able to speak with some of those kids who are more 3-4 star level, and then about a couple of those kids you signed.
Well, of course, it's always important. I think the most important thing is how you treat people. And I think, our kids are starting to realize that, how they're treated is important, and then also their value. And at the end of the day, of course, there are certain universities that have facilities and they have all kinds of things. But at the end of the day, are you happy with how you're being treated? And I think that's something that, all of us do on our level, and especially in this particular conference. We understand how to treat young people and motivate them and then also to stretch them so that they can achieve all of the things that they want to achieve in life, whether it's on the field or off the field.
Talk about some of those signees that you've been able to get, because you've gotten quite a few of them.
Yeah, we got a couple of really good players. Noah Bowden is probably the guy that spearheads the entire class. Just an exceptional young man, but he's a G-man. He's the type of young man that you want in your program. Because he understands the importance of education, but then also doing things the right way. As a young man, just treating people right, and old school values, in our opinion, don't go away. Even though I know in this current state of things, the way things are, everyone thinks that it's a different day, but for us, there are some things that just matter. And we believe that those things matter the most.
Thanks, Coach.
Next question comes from A.D. Drew.
Good afternoon. Well, I guess still morning in your area, Coach. Good morning.
Morning. How you doing?
I'm on the East Coast. With the NCAA giving the grant the extra year of eligibility, basically this is a free year for all your athletes. But we know there's about 800 or so football players in the transfer portal. You've got all the junior college players who will be matriculating out into 4-year schools such as yours, and then you have the high school athletes who will be coming in. We all know the impact is going to be tremendous this year, but talk about that impact 2 to 3 years down the line, because I think realistically it's going to be a 2 to 3 year impact because of this season. That's just my personal opinion. Let me get your thoughts on that, and if it has kind of changed how you plan on recruiting in the future, because we all know you bring in certain players during certain years to start filling needs and to get them in a year or two in advance. So just kind of talk about that, if you would, in general.
Well, the thing that's extremely tough is I feel for the high school kids because there are so many high school kids that are deserving of college scholarships athletically on the football field. And everyone seems to, run towards, transfer portals and things of that nature. And I understand why, because you got a lot of these, Power 5 and Group 5 players that are available. But for us, whether we're getting transfers, whether we're getting JUCO kids or whether we're getting high school kids, for us, it's about what's the perfect fit, and we're looking for a certain temperament. We're looking for a certain type of young man. We're looking for, a certain kid that we believe is a G-man. And if they fit those deals and check all the boxes, then that's the type of player that we're looking forward to getting. But, I do agree that it's going to be a snowball effect that affects, so many kids to come, especially in high school. And it's extremely tough. But at the end of the day, everyone's trying to win football games. It's a competitive situation where everyone's trying to get the best players for their program, not just the best players, but also the best students that can do what they need to do for their APR. So it's just it's a tough situation, but it is what it is at this particular time.
Our next question comes from Corey Diaz.
Coach, good to see you, my man.
Hey, Corey.
Talk about the evaluation process this spring, man. What's it going to look like for you guys, and is there going to be a difference in how you guys approach these 6 games in the spring?
Well, I think it has to be a difference. I think when you look at the fact that our kids haven't put on pads, for almost, 10, 11 months now, you have to go about it a different way if you're trying to protect your young people and make sure that you have your bodies available. A lot of the callousness that the body has is kind of gone away because we haven't had a chance to really be physical and play the game that we all love. So you're going to have to do things differently if you're smart. So for us, it's about, making sure that we don't put too much stress on their bodies too early because you don't want to lose anybody that you don't want to have, for the entire duration of a particular spring season, not to mention lose them for the fall as well. So we're checking off some things and making sure that we adapt our practice schedules and things of that nature so that we can not only make it through, but be competitive and be the type of team that we know we have a chance to be.
Yeah, and I know some of the other coaches have mentioned so far today about being more of an observer of the college football game, this fall than they've been in a long, long time. So from your time this year being spent observing the sport, what have you just sort of learned about it and what maybe some things that you maybe implement that could be different than maybe in years past?
Well, in my opinion, it was very hurtful for me to watch games specifically in September, October, and some parts of November, because I'm very, very passionate about what I do and I love doing it. And it was hard for me to watch an entire football game knowing that we weren't, involved in it. So I really didn't start, really watching whole football games until we got to the end of November and on into December and here recently. I just found it hard to really watch and not be a part of it. it really hit me that hard. But for me, the discipline of the game is something that we have to get back to, and I'm looking at the entire scope of college football. I think there are certain programs that do an exceptional job when it comes to discipline and organization. But then you have others where, some of that is not as cool anymore. But the programs that are winning the national championships are those that are disciplined, organized, and are doing things a certain way. And, when you look at, college football and even high school football, from the 70s and the 80s, they look like soldiers out there playing the game. And the game has just changed dramatically when you look at the celebrations on the sidelines and, the turnover change and things of that nature. And in my opinion, things have changed, and it's become more about the sideshow than the actual show itself. And for me, playing the game the right way, being a good football player, being dominant in between the whistle, that's what the game is about, not the other stuff that really doesn't have anything to do with the game.
And lastly, Coach, just wanted to get your thoughts on, obviously Deion coming in and taking over at Jackson State. What have you noticed from an impact that he's had so far in the league? And is there a way that Grambling by association could reap some benefits from having a guy of that name and that magnitude in the league?
Well, I mean, that's really not something I put too much thought into. At the end of the day, my focus is my football team and making sure we're ready and prepared and ready to go. At the end of the day, everybody has to coach their team the way that they have to coach their team. They have to do what they need to do for their organization. And our focus is Grambling State University.
Appreciate that, Corey. Our next question goes to Ronald Wallace.
How you doing today, Coach Fogg? Good to talk to you again. Hey, Mr. Wallace, how you doing?
Pretty good. How does it feel to be able to play football in the month of February?
Well, I tell you, I'll feel good about it once we get there and we start playing. You're excited about it, but you don't want to get too excited, because if you get to the door and then something happens and contact tracing or something like that happens where you can't play a game, then you're going to be devastated. So I try to keep myself calm. We're getting with our players for the first time today for our running test to make sure that we're prepared and ready to go. And at the end of the day, you just don't want to get too excited, because you know how things are at this particular time.
All right, and one more question. Now, you're saying you get your players coming in for the first time today. What are you going to tell those guys, and what do we got to do so we can play each week on the field?
Well, I think they know. I think they know from watching, the college football season this year and then watching some of the basketball seasons. They know that they have a huge obligation in order to make sure that they're able to remain on the field, for us, not just them, but all of us. And this is a true sense of the word team concept, because you have to consider other people. You can't just think about yourself in order to make sure that you're able to participate and your team can participate. So that's really what the word will be about today, is about making sure that we focus on knowing that, if we want to have a successful season, and even if we want to have a season, we're all obligated and chain linked to each other in order to make sure that we're able to do that.
Next question goes to Ronald Murray, followed by James Hill. Next question goes to Ronald Murray.
How's it going, everybody? Ron Murray, K104 in Dallas. Happy New Year and good morning, Coach.
Hey, good morning.
All right, just a quick question. Of course, spring football, State Fair Classic postponed, but it's going to be played in February this year. Just your thoughts about that, and do you think the game can still have the same pageantry in February as it would have any other year during fair season?
Well, for us, the game is the game. The pageantry is the pageantry. So, it depends on, the number of people that are allowed to participate in the stands, not to mention, the state fair and all of those things. So I think when you really look at it, I think the pageantry is out the door. I think, at the end of the day, the football game is still a football game, and that's always going to be exciting. But there's been pageantry that's actually been thrown out the door since we started this pandemic. So I don't think, the pageantry is something that's there. I do think that the football game is still as exciting as it always will be.
So along with the football game, can you just express how important it is to recruit the Dallas-Fort Worth area? Because, of course, that game's a staple every year, and for a lot of kids, that's their first time ever seeing HBCU football. So just if you can express just, recruiting the Metroplex area and how that helps you in your program.
Well, I think it's big. Of course, the city of Dallas and the whole Metroplex area is huge. It's just so many student athletes that are great athletes in that particular area and the surrounding areas. So it's a huge recruiting tool for us, as it is for other universities. And it's easy to get to, but there's so many really good players there. We're always in there trying to, get our share of those particular student athletes.
Thank you, Coach Fobbs.
Thank you.
Question goes to James Hill.
Hey, good morning, Coach Fobbs. I hope you and the family are well. Wanted to ask you about the tradition of the G-men, Grambling State University quarterbacks, and what that means, and talk about the quarterback you have. And the second question is the Bayou Classic will be moved to Shreveport. Talk about going into Independence Bowl Stadium and what that means this season.
Well, to answer your first question, we have a long history of really good quarterback play here, prior to me even being born. That's just something that Grambling has always been exceptional at. Coach Robinson has done an exceptional job of bringing in really good players, not just at that position, but others as well. But it's kind of its own fraternity. And those guys, when you're named the starting quarterback there, those guys kind of start to surround themselves with each other and start to talk to those guys and let them know, hey, what does that mean? And want that kid to know what does it mean to be the starting quarterback at Grambling State University. So it's huge, and what was your second question again?
The actual Bayou Classic won't be played in the Dome this year. You guys will actually meet Southern up in Shreveport. Talk about that. And again, it's the football game is the focus, but all the things outside of the game may not be like they would be in a normal year due to COVID.
Well, absolutely, and I don't expect them to be, but, anytime, you're playing against your brothers, that's always a huge affair and a huge event, because, at the end of the day, it's a sibling rivalry, and it's been that way since the beginning of time, and it's an exciting opportunity. The good thing about it is, we don't have to travel as far as we used to. So it'll be a little different, but I don't think that we're all oblivious to different this particular, last year. So it is what it is. But, we're looking forward to it. At the end of the day, that is down the line. And the first thing right now is we want to talk to our kids and get them going in the right direction and making sure that we're where we're supposed to be and our feet are planted where they're supposed to be so we can be the type of team that we need to be.
Okay, sounds good. Next up in the queue is Charles Bishop.
Yes, Coach Fobbs. Charles Bishop, Dr. Cavilles inside the HBCU Sports Lab. And I just wanted to ask, in terms of the way you evaluated your roster going into the spring, I think I've asked this question in regards to how you go about looking at playing this spring. Will it be kind of an evaluation of what you have on the roster, or will it be something different in terms of a more competitive? I know coaches have different philosophies in terms of how they're going to look at playing this spring. And I'm curious how you looking at the G-men taking the field this upcoming spring.
Well, I mean, for me, I'm an extremely competitive guy. I may seem a little soft-spoken and things of that nature, but I'm extremely competitive. So, for us, the number one goal is to win the football game. That's the most important thing, for us. Of course, there is another mindset to it. You want to make sure you get some guys some opportunities and get some guys some touches and try to rotate a bunch of guys so that you can remain fresh and healthy, so you won't, impact, what happens in the fall season. But for us, here at Grambling, we've been taught, a certain way that, the way we play this game is about winning. And for us, it's about winning the game and winning in every aspect of that particular game.
Good thing. Thank you, Coach.
All right.
Coach Fobbs, we sincerely appreciate your time here today, and we look forward to speaking with you more as we get into the season.
Thank you guys so much. Y'all have a blessed day and stay safe.
Thank you. Okay, we'll get started here momentarily. It looks like we have Coach Sanders with us. Coach, good morning. I believe your line might be, there we go.
Everybody, we good?
Yes, sir, Coach.
How's everyone doing?
Good, pretty good. How about you, Coach?
Good, good. Coach Bishop, Mr. Wallace, Sidney, and Mr. Sussex. Did I say that correctly? I can't see the last name. I apologize for that. I can't see the last name. But whoever else is on, God bless you. Let's do this.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Coach. We will identify everyone that will be asking questions, and they'll have the floor. With that being said, we'll go ahead and get started. And our first question goes to Mr. Ron Murray.
How's it going, Coach Prime? Happy New Year. Good morning.
How you doing, sir?
Doing good. So just a question. It seems like you've just been on a whirlwind. You are coaching your son's high school football team, and, of course, he's going through his own recruiting process. You go out, you become a head coach at Jackson State. So have you just had any moment at all just to sit down and just take in everything that's been going on during the process that you're in?
Let me tell you something, man. Once upon a time when I played for the Atlanta Falcons, I bought a Rolex watch, man, my first one. I had it iced out. I mean, kitted up. You couldn't even see the watch. You couldn't even tell it was a Rolex because there was so much ice in it. Wore it to my first game, on my way to the first game, and I'm yelling and screaming and going off on my jeweler because the watch wouldn't run. And he told me to calm down because I was hot. Calm down, Prime, calm down. I said, man, I paid all this money for this watch, and this watch don't run. He said, move your arm, move your arm. And I did like this and looked at the watch. I said, I'll call you back. But he was trying to tell me that a Rolex watch goes on movement. I go on movement, man. I got to move. I got to shake. I got to go. I got to be versatile. I got to keep it going. So whenever I'm idle, I lose energy. So I'm a mover and a shaker, man, and I make things happen. That's the way my life has always been. So playing 2 sports was something I did in high school and played 3 sports. So I'm that's who I am. That's what makes me, to keep it moving.
So, of course, keeping it moving through that process, your recruiting process, you've hit the ground running. Have you seen a lot of student athletes really just flocking to you, or have there been guys where you had to, work a little bit more to get those guys?
It's work. I mean, it's work. To tell you the truth, man, I'm just so biased. I feel like we have the best staff in college football. I really do. I mean, when you have a collection of guys from high school, college, and the professional levels, it's phenomenal because the high school guys can truly relate. The college guys are where these guys want to be, and the pro guys are where they want to go. So we can speak on all points. And then having me come in and either initiate it or close it, that's a heck of a combination. Our guys have really worked their butts off to the point that now we're starting to get calls like crazy. Somebody called my mama the other day, man. You got a 4-star kid called my mama. How you get my mama's phone number? I mean, the kid was from Georgia, 3 or 4-star kid from Georgia. They knew somebody that knew my sister that got in touch with my mama. So I'd shoot the message to the linebackers coach. They do the homework, and the kid turns out to be a dog. I mean, it's crazy things like that has been happening. The problem that we have at this point is the number of scholarships, the numbers that we have. If we had a clean slate, it would be ridiculous. And we love this problem, though. We love the problem that we're having right now, and we love it. We love how competitive these kids are. I can't wait for you to see what we're going to put on the field.
Thanks a lot, Coach Prime.
Thank you, my man.
Next question goes to Rashad Milligan.
How you doing? I hope the move is going well and everything into Jackson, settling in just fine. My first question for you is, you guys started conditioning this week. How's conditioning been so far?
Conditioning is wonderful, but conditioning is what it's called, conditioning. Some kids ain't in shape. Some kids are in phenomenal shape. Some kids are working their butt off, but it's apparent that they get better than they were yesterday, but not as good as tomorrow. These kids are working their butts off. They're challenging. They've been challenged. I feel like, again, we have the best strength and conditioning staff in the country. These guys go get it. They're the tone setters for your whole program. If you don't have a good strength and conditioning team, you're going to be suspect. And these guys really know what they're doing. And I'm pleased and I'm excited. And guys that want it, they're extra. We had days off the other day. I believe it was Sunday. Guys came in on their own, want to condition, they want to hit the weights. And that's a good sign.
Next question goes to Stephen Gaither.
Coach, how you doing this afternoon?
How you doing, my man?
Doing great, doing great. Obviously, you're coming in fresh to, you obviously know football very well, fresh to HBCU football. What is it that you have learned over this past couple of months about the nature of HBCUs, not only just on the field, but just also just HBCUs in general that maybe you didn't know coming into this situation?
The playing field is horrible. It's not a level playing field. It's unacceptable. And thank God, God called me to change the game, to open the eyes, to open the door, not just for Jackson State, but for everybody. I mean, simplistic things like a training table, like the practice surface, some of the equipment, some of the field equipment. It's so many things that I'm on and having a lot of meetings every day, and this is one of them. So I love it. I love the challenge of it. But if these kids had the same playing field, I guarantee you more would matriculate to the next level. But it's not. And that's why I'm here to balance this thing. Because some of the things that I've seen thus far in my early tenure are truly unacceptable. And it causes a kid not to dream. It causes a kid to not have that passion because he don't see no end result that's promising for him. And the devil is a lie. That's not going to happen up under my watch. Ain't no way in the world. They deserve better. And they're going to get better.
Right. And secondly, it seems like, the additional things as well as coaching the football, you have relationships that you've been building. It seems like you're a relationship builder. Talk about how big that is for you as you continue to try to build the Jackson State brand, not only on the football field, but also just in building relationships and helping improve those situations.
It's tremendous. We haven't been the recipient as some of the other ones, but we've been recipients of some wonderful things because there's been donors that have given millions and millions to the HBCUs, and we want that to continue. But here, I'm hands-on, man. I mean, shoot, I had meetings with Golden Corral yesterday to make sure the kids could go off campus. I could make sure they get a good meal if we want to take them off campus once a week or once every 2 weeks. It's so many, the Under Armour deal that we consummated. It's so many other deals that you haven't heard yet that we're going to release soon, therefore. But the kids, that's the only darn reason I'm here. And if the kids aren't taken care of, if the kids aren't happy, they're not smiling, and they're not competitive, and they don't have that want and that desire in them, we're in the wrong business. That's the business we're in. And I'm doing this for these babies, man. They deserve it. I mean, to look in their eyes, man, when they get a whole new sweatsuit just to wear back to the darn dorm. I mean, shoes and looking the same when they work out, the attire, the helmets, the uniforms. All that stuff plays a tremendous role, man. You know my quote, you look good, you feel good. That's the darn truth. And you play good. And these kids have that kind of desire now, and they see it. They see that they deserve it. Every once in a while, it gets so desolate that you stop believing. But we relit that fire, man, and they believe that they deserve it. They deserve to get that call on draft day. They deserve it.
Thanks so much, Coach.
Thank you, my man.
Housekeeping note, we will try to mix in the questions from national and local media. We will try to answer as many questions as possible during this virtual press conference. With that being said, next question goes to Craig Haley.
Hey, Coach Prime, thank you for the time today.
How you doing, Mr. Haley?
Real well. Given all the excitement, surrounding your program the last 4 months, I mean, new coaches generally try and downplay the one loss record in their first year. Is that unavoidable here? I mean, do you have to come in and make a big impact in the win-loss column?
Depending on what you call an impact. We're measured by wins and losses. That's how we're measured. So that's what it's about. As long as they keep scoring, we got to win. When they stop keeping score, it won't be a problem. But they keep score. We got to win. But not only win, we got to win academically. We got to win in the community. We got to get guys to the next level. All these guys that you've seen in this wonderful recruiting class that we accumulated, they plan on going pro. That means we have to develop them. We have to nurture them. We have to progress them so that they can fulfill that dream and that desire. That's part of winning as well.
Sure. Coach, what have you learned about the style of play in the SWAC?
I don't give a darn about the style of play. I give a darn about how we play. I'm not spending my time looking at film with everybody else right now. I'm worried about what we have in the kitchen. That's the only way we're going to be able to cook. It's just like you worried about what else is in somebody else's kitchen, and you still there starving. So, hey, I got to worry about what we got going on here before I can concern myself with anybody else. I have not watched one piece of film regarding somebody else. I have watched a lot of film of our kids, the kids we brought in the last year practices, a lot of it, but none. I haven't looked outside the kitchen, man. So
thank you, Coach. Best of luck.
Yeah. Thank you, my man. I appreciate it. You got a nice crib too. You look good in there. You look comfortable in there.
Next question goes to Miss Keisha Kelly.
Hey, Coach. Keisha Kelly from Black College Experience. Been a while since I talked to you back in September. We had the jokes. My question is, how are you adjusting to the Jackson State? Did you find the good food, and how are you adjusting to that life in Jackson, Mississippi?
Let me tell you something, man. The people in the city of Jackson and surrounding cities has been wonderful. I've given out so many hugs with my mask on. Let me say that because I know y'all crazy. You report that crazy stuff. I've given out so much love and hugs and compassion, picked up a few deals because the people have been so good to me. And I can imagine if we win. God, that's what the coaches, they treat the coaches, I mean, they throwing rose fellas down on the feet. I said, you know what that mean, that when people give, that mean they won't. So we got to continue what we've started, and it's been phenomenal. It's been above and beyond all expectations, and I'm really excited. I really am. I just can't wait to get going. Like, we ready to strap it up and let's go. Let's get it on.
Okay, my second and final question is, how excited are you that your sons are going to be playing under Dad?
You know what's so funny about that is we were inside because of inclement weather, inside the gymnasium, getting our conditioning in, and I was so concerned about team, I forget that I have kids on the team. So I'll get so caught up in what we going to Wilson, being Coach Prime, and then I say, let me see if my kids are here. Where they at? You know, then I find them. Then I go to being critical, you know, and I say, you can't do that. Quit picking on yours, and you know. So I feel like I got 100 kids in there. Really, honestly, I feel like I had 100 sons, and we have that type of relationship because I'm an open book. Our meetings are authentic. They're real. They're hilarious. They're trying. They're testing. They're all of that. We talk on every emotion in a team meeting, and the coaches are doing a phenomenal job. But I got to allow these kids to know me as well, and they're getting to know that.
Oh, and keep up the good work on the marketing.
That's what I do. That's who I is.
Next question.
You got me clowning, girl. You got me clowning. Let me get back professional. My bad. Next question, please.
Next question goes to Nick Suss.
Hey, Dion, you talked a little bit about recruiting earlier. I'm just curious, in your conversations with these recruits, has there been anything that surprised you about trying to convince kids to come to an HBC, or has it been about what you...
Is that a 45 record on the wall? Is that an album? What is that?
We got three.
Who is it, though?
We got Paul Simon, The Replacements, and The Strokes.
I ain't gonna even touch that one. That was like an easy setup for me. I'm not going to even touch The Strokes. I ain't never heard that group. I don't want to hear that group. I don't even know what that group is about. But I'm going to let you deal with that after this call, okay? I ain't never heard of them. But give me a question again. You made me lose the train of thought.
Recruiting. Has the conversations about getting kids to come to an HBC or to come to Jackson State been as you expected?
It's not about coming to HBCU. Really, it's been about coming to play for us, coming to this program to do something that hadn't been done, coming to change the landscape. It takes a kid with courage, a kid that's confident, a kid that's progressive, a kid that's a forward thinker who's willing to do this. Because you got kids coming from Power 5 situations with a whole lot of nice stuff, with beautiful dorms, indoor, outdoor facilities, weight room galore, so many trainers, equipment persons, and everything at their beck and call. Then you come here. I told them it ain't the same. We don't have the best of things, but we make the most of things. That's what I tell them. I don't sugarcoat them. Well, I'm not guaranteeing you no start. I'm not even guaranteeing you're going to get the number you had last year. Matter of fact, you ain't going to get the number you had last year. You're going to have to compete for it. We keep it 100 like that. And not only the kids, but the parents respect that. We don't play no game. We don't falsify anything. They got to compete for everything. So in recruiting, it's not all about coming to play for the SWAC or HBCU. It's just coming to play for us. And we're about to do a whole new thing.
There's kind of been a movement nationally in football and basketball to try and get more high-profile recruits to come to these types of schools. Have you found that kids are coming to you saying, hey, I was not going to consider coming to a place like Jackson State, but now I feel I want to? Has that conversation happened yet, or is it still just all about your program?
Well, I think the kids want to come to a program that gets them to the next level, that they're going to have an opportunity to make it to the next level, wherever that is. And if we could have that possibility, if we could have that same thought process as a kid that says he's going to play for Alabama, where he knows that's the pipeline to the NFL. We want that same thought process, and we're going to have it. When you have several guys that were in the NFL coaching-wise and playing-wise, that's a tremendous possibility just based on the relationships that we have. So, yeah, we pray that it continues, but I think a kid should do what's best for the kid. If it's best for the kid to be here, then go do it. If it's best for you to be elsewhere, you need to go do it because we don't want you here unhappy. And I told him yesterday, if you want to opt out, you don't have to wait to get in the portal. I got a seat in the meeting room called the portal. You can put you in there right now. You don't have to wait. We don't have to surprise you. Get in the right there. They go to the portal right there. I take you right over there and walk you and sit you right down in there and put a seatbelt on you and give you a video to sell you. I'm going to tell all the good things about you. I'm going to help you go somewhere. If you don't want to be here, I will help you leave. I need the spot anyway.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Next question goes to Charles Bishop.
How you doing, Coach Prime?
How you doing, sir?
Charles Bishop, Tiger Talk with 1400 Club. I wanted to ask you, in terms of your evaluation of your roster now, you have a prior four-star quarterback coming back in Jalen Jones and a few pieces there on the offensive side of the ball. But talk a little bit about what you have on the roster now in terms of trying to develop it going into the spring season.
I know what I see on paper. I know what I've seen in shorts. I don't know what I have in pads. I know we've accumulated some dogs that have come in, and distinctly you could tell the difference somewhat. But as far as talent-wise, they got to get we haven't even touched the ball. That starts tomorrow. We haven't even picked up a football. We got to get you to the down the aisle before we can say I do. So that's what's going to transpire tomorrow. So as far as the roster, we know what we think, but we really won't know what we know until we know what we know. Because every person who have stars, it don't mean they are a star. I think every college knows that.
I know this question has been asked, but sort of given the current climate of the country, what is the vibe that you're getting from parents in terms of potential recruits looking at Jackson State?
Well, I don't know if it's the vibe of the country or the vibe that we've created here. I think they may coincide with one another. We think we're not thankful that our country is in war in some aspects, but it has provoked people to look at home and say, you know what, I might as well stay at the crib instead of go elsewhere. But you gotta be on your game when they make that attempt, when they have that thought provoked. Your coaching staff, your academic staff, your staff, all the staffs combined got to be on point when they do that. Let me tell y'all the new hustle, man. Y'all gonna make me get naked and transparent on this Zoom call, but I'm gonna do it. This is the new hustle. Guys could opt out, guys could transfer, and kids could do all of that. But what they're doing to kids when they do, they're penalizing them so much academically. Say, for instance, a kid has 40 hours. He chooses to transfer here or elsewhere, those credits may not add up. Now he has the transfer somewhere, and now he's down to 25 hours. That's the way you keep a kid in your institution, and that's something that you guys need to point out. You guys need to make note of, because that's the new college hustle, to keep a kid from opting out or transferring. That's what they're doing. So we got our academic people behind the curtains. You trying to turn water into wine because they're making it so tough for these young kids to transfer. You have some kids right on the verge of graduating. But if I go there, that's best suited for me to go to the next level, so I'm going to lose 25 credit hours? I don't know if I want to do that. That's the new hustle. Do your homework. I'm not talking at you. That came out wrong. Think about what I just articulated. Factor it in. Do some work in regarding, and you'll see what I'm talking about. That's your new college hustle, man. It's very unfortunate for the kids. It's bad. It's not good for the kids.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
We have time for one more question, and that question will go to Mo Carter.
Mo Carter.
Hey, Coach Prime, how's it going, man?
What's going on? I don't get to see a picture. I can see the picture of everybody else. I like to. Come on, man.
For sure.
You can see me, but I can't see you. Come on, Mo.
Hey, you should be able to see me. I got my video
on.
Oh,
okay. Now I got you now.
All right.
There you go.
Good deal. Well, first of all, welcome to the SWAC, man. Glad to have you within this great conference that has so much history. Now, look, you're a Florida guy, and I know for sure you know about every single part of the state of Florida. So come the fall, you start off Jackson State's schedule against FAMU, and then you probably have Bethune on it as well. Being a guy from Florida, what do you think about the addition of the two Florida schools into this HBCU conference?
I absolutely love it. Although neither one of those schools recruited me out of high school, we were always understanding how much those schools contributed to many things in Florida. If it wasn't for FAM, I don't think a lot of the athletes would have chosen Florida State, if you know what I mean. So let me tell you something. That is a tremendous opportunity. I look forward to that. I look forward to our first game, February 21st. First of all, let me take care of that hurdle. But that fall classic is going to be phenomenal. It really is. Matter of fact, Luke and I was going back and forth talking junk to one another, just messing around, because he has a rattler tattooed on his back somewhere. That's what I told him. So yeah, Luke, he's united with FAM. But I look forward to that, man. I can't wait. I can't wait. My son said something in the interview he did recently. He's like, I can't wait to hear the sonic boom. I can't wait. He said, I've never had a band in high school. I started thinking, we didn't have a band in high school. We had about four or five people over there doing their little thing with the instruments, but it wasn't like that. So I cannot wait until he gets to play in front of that atmosphere, man. Both my sons, as a matter of fact. I'm excited. And I like that 21 you rock back there where it's strategically placed. I like that.
Yeah. Played DB at Southern University from 2006 to 2009 under Coach Pete Richardson.
Were you good?
I was decent enough, man. The main thing was
what does decent mean? What does decent mean?
I saw the field.
Yeah, everybody in the stadium saw that too.
Exactly. And then after that, man, I got my degree, in which I now am a sports anchor.
There you go. You got a degree. You got you got something. I tell kids, you got to get something. Either you go pro or you go pro. That means you go pro or you go be a professional. I like that. You got something. Proud of you, my brother. You look like where you were in that ring, you're happily married.
Absolutely.
I like that.
And actually just added a little one to the mix, too.
You see what I'm saying? Now you're doing it. I love it, man. God bless you, my brother.
Same to you, sir.
Coach, we appreciate your time, and if there are additional media requests for Coach, please reach out to Jackson State Media Relations.
All right. Hey, God bless you all. We got to do this again. I had fun. You guys keep that energy going. You guys keep me on my toes. Sweetheart, God bless you, baby. Keisha, you take care. Later.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Serving the community through faith and athletics. The Open Mic Broadcast Network.